Hello, everyone, and welcome to the HP Podcast, episode number 328. I'm Ben, and with me here today are the beautiful boys. Beautifuler than ever, I would say, even. Maybe that's just my opinion. Dave and Brandon. Brandon, let's go to you first. How are you tonight?
I'm all right, man. Pretty good, I guess. Yeah, a little sleepy, but we're getting over it.
Yeah.
But what's new? What's new, man?
I mean, you're in your 30s now. Basically, all of life is a little sleepy.
I got this very large new water bottle that's just truly, sorry, audio listeners, it's 64 ounces. So, like, it doubles as a bludgeoning device.
Mhm.
And now that I'm working in a big city, if this thing is full, I could easily kill a man with this.
It's also like helping you get your weight lifted in too. Like,
Dude, yeah, I know. It's fucking heavy.
It's full of Diet Coke, right?
Yeah. No, actually just liquor. I just emptied a handle into here. Thank God it's stainless. It doesn't retain any of that flavor.
I mean, that's essentially a growler.
That's what I'm saying, bro. This thing is fucked in a good way. You know what I mean? So, no, I'm doing good. I'm staying hydrated, boys. Trying to, anyway.
Well, he's staying hydrated, but he's not staying connected. His internet
His water bottle poured out on his PC.
disappeared. Oh no!
He's flooded his apartment.
He's just he spills like a little drip out of it, and all of a sudden he's floating in the apartment.
Exactly.
Well, we'll see if he comes back or not. But in the meantime, Dave.
Hi.
Greetings. Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. It's good to see you. I got to see you in person this past week.
It's first time in 5 years. We
That's
see
crazy.
each other we talk to each other multiple times a week, and we haven't seen each other in person in 5 years. So yeah, it was good to hang out.
Well, we do live in separate countries. I mean, basically
Yeah.
an insurmountable distance.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm not. It's not a bad thing, but it's nice. So yeah, we had a good time. Hung out at PAX, played some video games, met a lot of people, drank some beers. Yeah, what more could you ask for with your good buddy, you know? And
True.
met some cool friends. You had some cool friends there that I got to meet, and
Yeah.
met some celebrities, kind of relatively. So yeah, it was a good time.
Brandon just texted and said he thinks his internet went down. So if he comes back, he'll be back. But if he doesn't, he doesn't. Dave, I didn't tell you this yet, I don't think. He's asking, can you guys see my messages? Sorry, Brandon. It's not like we're in the middle of something. Yes.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'll respond to him.
All right.
Just so he knows his internet is working.
So Ben Starr was at the show. I think you're aware. And like, I don't know Ben, and we're not connected, but like we do have the same name, so like that's something. I think we're pretty close in age, you know. And then my buddy Brad is friends with him and had him like on a show that I've been on multiple times, Summon Sign, last week. And so Brad was like, make sure you try to connect with him if you can. I was like, I'll try, but you know, I was stuck at my booth the whole weekend. And then so I was like, all right, well, no big deal. I'm just not going to meet him. It's fine. And then as I was checking out of the hotel yesterday, I was dropping my bags off at the bellhop so I could just not have them for a few hours while I was waiting to go to the airport. And he walked up and stood next to me. I was like, hey, I know Brad. And he told me to say hey. And all that. So I got to meet Ben Starr. So that was kind of cool.
Damn.
Larry Erb, Major Nelson walked up to my booth and just started chatting me up. It was cool.
Aerith?
I met Aerith. She came, Brianna White. She came by the booth. So that was cool. I'm not really like a celebrity. I'm more excited about the fact that other people might be excited that I meet celebrities than I am about meeting celebrities myself, because I'm like, I've met celebrities and they're just people. But also, like, it is cool when you know, Major Nelson walked up and I was like, hey, he's working for Unity now, and we were talking about Unity, but I was like, you're the first person I ever listened to talk about video games. Like, I loved video games for years and years, and then like in 2008 or something, the first podcast I should say, I was like, I started listening to your show, and you know, and he's like, oh, and now you're here. I'm like, I'm an exhibitor. So like that was cool, just to like be able to tell him like, you definitely impacted my life in some way.
Right.
I think that's neat. But yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. It's definitely cool to go to those things and rub shoulders with people. And it's cool, like when you realize that you were close to someone that you didn't realize was a celebrity at the time, or relatively.
Yeah.
But you did. Hey, Brandon, you're back.
Hello.
Can we address something real quick? Because you said in our Discord, "Can you all see this?" And I said, "Yeah." And you said, "You said fuck you."
No. I was talking to Ben because at the same time I pulled up the stream to see if maybe it was a StreamYard issue. I was actually talking to Ben. I'm sorry. I didn't get your message, Dave. That was actually
Okay.
directly to Benjamin.
What did I do?
No. You're good. My internet did go out, but
Wait, what did I say that you said that to me about?
No, you were like, I don't know what the fuck you. I'm good. I'm trying to stay hydrated. You met Ben Starr. And
We joked that you dropped your water bottle and flooded your apartment.
flooded the first floor of the house.
Tsunami warning.
Right? Flash flood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did meet those people. They're people.
That's good. That's good, man. That's good.
Cool people, but yeah.
They're the best
So, yeah.
people.
The best people. I met them all.
I met them at PAX East, not that stinky PAX West at California.
I still haven't. It's not in California. It's in Seattle, by the way. But
Close enough.
I've never been to PAX West.
It's over there.
Never been to PAX West. I don't think I'm going to be going to PAX West this year, but that could change. There's some other stuff I will be. No, I mean, as of right now, I don't think I am. But there's some other stuff I'll be attending that I'll Once it gets actually nailed down, I'll be able to talk about. But yeah, it's cool. I miss going to gaming events, although it's a little different when you're standing behind the booth the majority of the time. And by the majority, I mean almost all the time, rather than walking the show floor. And I also know that there's like when we used to go to PAX East and E3 and everything else, we always had like appointments lined up. So we walked up in front of the whole line, stood there, played the game, talked to the developer maybe for a minute, and walked away. When you don't have that kind of access, which the majority of people at PAX don't, I don't know if I'd like it or not. Because you're just like a guy. You just have to stand in line like a pleb.
That was my experience.
Oh, that's
so
true.
I was used to 2 years of PAX, just as you mentioned, like you have an appointment, you have a media badge, you walk up and you're King Big Dick. But being on the other side, it was a lot tougher. And I wasn't even there on the quote unquote busy days, but it is difficult to kind of experience it in the normie way once you've experienced it as kind of an important person. So
Hard to go back.
And the thing is too, is like, I hope this is a case of PAX hasn't recovered yet from COVID, but PAX has changed. Like it was like there was just not a lot of stuff going on compared to past years. Like past years we've been there, the front of the hall is where like the big boys are. And in previous years, the big boys were like Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft, like Discord had a booth, Square Enix,
Tiny Guild even.
Yeah. And like this year it was Atari and like Crimson Desert had a big booth at the front, and
Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, Dune had its thing, and like that was pretty cool. But like it's not what it used to be, and there was a whole lot of empty space around, which is actually good for the experience. But also, like I don't know, we talked a lot coming out of COVID about the return of a lot of these in-person events, and it's like they have come back, and people are having a great time, and people are going, but it's like not having these major players there really, like you really notice it. So
yeah. I think the disadvantages are many, right? Like the events are getting smaller and less people are attending. Still a lot of people, don't get me wrong, but like less people overall. But the advantages are that like Microsoft, PlayStation, Nintendo, they already have all the attention they could possibly want. Plenty of people know about their stuff. One of the advantages though is that that leaves more room to shine on indies and even double A's for that matter. Maybe you even have less people going, but all the people who are going are at least interested in those smaller things because they know the big people, the big developers and publishers aren't there. So like, I think that's the part of the industry that needs the attention. And so I think it's good that that's being given more of a, getting more of a light shown upon it. But it is weird having been there as early as, my first one was in 2011 and then again 2016, 17, something like that. And it's definitely like a different vibe than it used to be. But it's not a bad vibe, it's just different. So I don't know. Hopefully people still continue to find it valuable, both from the developer publisher side as well as the attendee side. And it's funny because I mentioned to some people like, oh, this is like, I've never seen PAX this small. And they were like, this is the biggest thing I've ever seen in my entire life and more people than I thought existed. So like, it's just a matter of perspective, right? It's still great to people who just weren't around. And there's plenty of people who weren't around. Dave, we got to share a room together.
We did.
You refused to sleep in my bed.
No, we did that cute thing though, where I take a shit on the toilet and you piss between my legs.
That didn't happen. I would be willing to say we slept in the same bed, and I did offer that, but I don't think I'll go as far as the thing you just said.
Yeah, no,
Coward.
But it was we had a VIP experience hotel right across the street, which is kind of annoying because we've been to PAXs in the past where it was really cold. Like PAX is normally February, March. And we had Airbnbs like super far away, had to take multiple buses. And the one time we go to PAX in a nice time of year, we were literally a 2-minute walk across from.
In a brand new hotel.
Yeah. Exactly.
With 4 bars inside of it and restaurants. Yeah, we don't ever need to leave.
Yeah. But no, it was good. I definitely appreciate the money savings of being able to be in a hotel. So yeah, thank you.
Anything else we want to babble about? I'll throw it over. Hulk Hogan gave us a $2 super chat and said Ginger and Watermania are running wild, dude. And as soon as that super chat came in, Ginger crashed.
I don't know, man. Something about it. Something about it.
Benji Bob says pulling a poot and watching while building furniture. You know, it's interesting how many times Poot has been in this chat and been like, I'm building furniture right now. How much furniture do you possibly need, Poot?
He's running a business. He like builds it and then he and then he resells it, I think.
Oh, Poot has an unofficial service that he's running right now where if you want to talk about Claire Obscure in an unspoilery environment, you can just send him a DM. He's not charging anything, but apparently a lot of people are doing it with him. So if you want to talk about something you've just seen in the game, Benji's your guy because he helped clarify some things in my head yesterday. So thank you, Benji.
Okay, nice. You said first it was Poot, but to clarify, it's Benji.
Benji, yeah.
Benji.
Sorry, did
Okay.
I say Poot? No, Poot is good for just kidding. Poot's a great guy. But no, Benji is what I was referring to.
Yeah, Claire Obscure is, I was gone for literally, we did the podcast and I left like 12 hours later and I got back like 16 hours ago. So I really haven't done anything else other than that. But I have some furniture to build. We bought like a big sectional from Lovesac, like a lot of pieces. And we ordered it on a Saturday. It started showing up on Monday. It was all delivered by Tuesday, and I had to leave on Wednesday, so I haven't got to build any of it. And it's like, they told us it was going to be 2 to 3 weeks minimum, and it was literally less than 48 hours. So I got that to look forward to for the rest of the week, building that thing out.
Nice. It wasn't normally when something gets delivered, it just happens, but this was a process. Like there wasn't.
Well, there's 24 pieces of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like different, like the arms are separate than the everything else, that kind of thing.
How much love do you plan to make on that sack?
It just depends. You could never really plan these things out. I mean, I guess you could.
It's a good question.
25 cushions. That sounds like 25 opportunities.
I'm gonna say, in direct answer to your question, I'm gonna say, at least some. That's all I'm gonna say.
Honestly, I'd go for at least some right now. That's a wholesome answer. I enjoy it. Thank you.
Yeah. Before we get into the stuff, H-Bomb, or I don't even know what to call him. He's got like 4 different screen names. O Pueblo, Hriz, H-Bomb, whatever. Says, Bando, seems like you trimmed up the goatee.
I did a couple weeks ago. A little shorter. I don't think I like it, but it's okay.
I think it looks good. I think it looks good.
Growing back.
Happy Doom Week, Brandon. It's a big week for
man.
you.
Dustin asked if I was going to buy it earlier. I said, hell no. I ain't shilling for that shit. Even if it's like, I only shill for From. I'm a From shill now. That's it. I'm buying a Switch 2 to play their game. That's a level of shill that Dave can't even keep up with as far as Ubi and former Ubi, current Nintendo.
Former Nintendo.
Current Microsoft
it
shill.
Changes
That's right.
every week, but
That's just that's the shill mentality. Some guys just dick off around. I'm just riding that same dick for years now. So
Quave also says Canadian and a Bears fan. Dave, you do have a couple strikes against you.
what's wrong with being a Bears fan?
I didn't say that any of the strikes were from being a Bears fan.
Well, you kind of insinuated it has something to do with it being Canadian and a Bears fan.
I mean,
What's wrong with those things?
maybe being Canadian is like more than one strike. You know?
No.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I am a Bears fan. So don't ask me to explain why, but I do like the Bears.
Dave, why are you a Bears fan?
Because Bears are cool.
Yeah, see? Fuck you, Stephen Colbert. Bears are the best.
Wait, does Stephen Colbert not like the Bears?
He had like a thing against not the Bears, but just Bears in general. Yeah, it was.
That's
it
a
was
pretty crazy stance to take, considering that they're Bears.
Yeah.
Dude, Bob Dylan doesn't like Bears either.
And where did that get him?
Gravelly ass voice.
So I don't know if the Pope has been confirmed as a Bears fan yet. He has been confirmed as a White Sox fan, but not. I don't know if. I assume being in Chicago, like you're a Bears fan, and I hope that's the case because they need blessing. I tell you what. But yeah.
Honestly, I don't give a fuck about religion, specifically Catholicism. Sorry to everyone, to each your own. But the fact that we got an American Pope, that's another win for America. Dave, read it and weep, baby.
Protest the Catholic Church.
The greatest country in the world.
Oh, okay. One more pack story before we move on. So Wednesday night, we get to Boston. I go in and like load all my demos onto the computers at our booth, and like that's a whole process. Dave helped me out a little bit with some stuff, a lot with some stuff, and then we met our buddy, my buddy Justin, who our buddy now. All three of us know him. He runs Eon Gaming and Crit Rate and some other stuff, and we went to a Red Sox game, which I like passively like baseball. Justin doesn't know baseball at all. His friend that came with him loves baseball, and Dave loves baseball. And so we went to a Red Sox game. Afterwards, we went and had dinner and stuff, and then Dave and I went over to the 7-Eleven to get some stuff. While we were waiting on our Uber to leave the 7-Eleven, the train rolled by, which is like blasting my ears out while I'm trying to podcast. That's just distracting. I gotta move. Guys, I need to move pretty soon here. I just got here and I need to move. Anyway, so we're standing outside this 7-Eleven, and this obviously mentally unwell individual, and not because of what he was saying, but because of how it was being done, was just standing, leaning up against the building going, protest the Catholic Church, yada, 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 and said like a bunch of stuff, and I don't even know what any of it was, but he just kept coming back to protest the Catholic Church over and over again. Just repeat, like, the whole time, the 10 minutes we were standing there. But and I got the impression it had been at least hours before, if not longer.
But you know, normally when you see these people, they're shouting things. This guy was just like, he was almost whispering it.
Yeah.
Protest the Catholic Church. Protest the Catholic
Honestly, guys, that's the most level-headed bum I've ever heard. Not only was he being considerate of his volume, but he actually had a pretty good point. He wasn't like screaming about the fluoride in the water,
right,
making the frogs gay or something.
Right.
You know, just very, very polite. Very polite.
Have you ever considered that frogs actually might be gay?
Did that guy show you his butthole or anything like that? Did it escalate to that point?
The only thing on that person that moved was his mouth. I didn't see him flinch otherwise.
His message is clear and his resolve is absolute.
Here's the thing. His message got out to Dave and I, which is 2 people, and now we've talked about it to at least dozens more.
to at least 1 dozen, including the 2 people that are a part of the.
And I'm probably going to tell that story to other people. You know,
Riz says he was an NPC.
It was a lot
that
like
is
a GTA NPC.
That's like very GTA. Yeah, very, very NPC energy.
I can't wait. I can't wait for that kind of stuff in GTA 6. Just like the random shit you hear NPCs say walking down the street.
All right, let's get into some news. What do you guys think?
23 minutes of banter. My goodness.
Before that, I should say we're on Patreon. Patreon.com/handsofphantom. You can support us there for as little as $1 a month. You can also join us on Discord. handsofphantom.com/Discord. It's not that stuff's unimportant. It's just that we've spent too long on whatever we've been doing. Number 1, Microsoft is in the news again. Says they have won the appeal in an FTC challenge to the $69 billion Activision Blizzard deal. A federal appeals court on Wednesday rejected a legal challenge by the FTC to Microsoft's $69 billion purchase of Call of Duty maker Activision Blizzard. This is from Reuters.com, by the way. They upheld a lower judge's order that said the FTC was not entitled to a preliminary injunction blocking the deal, which closed in 2023. It's a little late, guys. You missed the boat. A 3-judge panel unanimously ruled that the lower judge had applied the correct legal standards and said the FTC had not shown it was likely to succeed on its claims that the merger would restrict competition. A spokesperson for the FTC declined to comment. Microsoft did not immediately respond to a request. The decision came in an antitrust lawsuit filed by the FTC in 2022 against Xbox maker Microsoft. The FTC, which enforces antitrust law, separately challenged the merger in an internal administrative action. That proceeding was placed on hold in 2023, during President Joe Biden's administration, pending the Ninth Circuit's decision. The transaction marked the largest ever acquisition in the video game market. It closed in 2023 after competition authorities in the UK approved it. The purchase also faced regulatory scrutiny in other international markets. This is it. We're done. We're done thinking that maybe it won't go through after they've been the same company for years now. At least a year, if not almost two. I think we're pretty good on it now. Dave, what do you think about this? The fact that, we're not attorneys, we're not lawyers, we don't know anything, but the whole thing.
Yeah, I alluded to this last week, but I feel like a couple of years ago we were talking about this story every single week. And then the deal closed and it was done and we moved on with our lives. So I was a little bit surprised to see it crop up again. And it sounds like this is kind of like it's an old filing, but it still needed to go through due process. But it is funny to kind of look, because again, we talked about this so much, but it's been almost 2 years. But it is funny to go back and look at it in hindsight, because one of the biggest arguments against this deal going through was how anti-competitive it was and how Microsoft was going to use ownership of all this high-level IP to create their own monopoly in the gaming industry. And now 2 years removed from that, and we see, I don't know if this is Microsoft's original strategy, but look at all the games we're talking about coming over to PlayStation, and nothing of consequence has been brought over to Microsoft exclusivity. I think the one thing is Call of Duty on Game Pass, but have we seen substantial amount of players leave the PlayStation ecosystem to go on Game Pass? No. And it's just kind of funny to kind of look at this in the rearview mirror and say this was not the case, because Microsoft has now taken on this more of a publisher persona with all of this new IP and is spreading the wealth as much as they can. So subscribe to Game Pass today for instant access to thousands of high quality games and day one releases. But hopefully we don't have to talk about this anymore, but it was a kind of funny reminder as to what we were all fighting against 2 years ago and how it just hasn't been the case in terms of this monopoly that Microsoft was setting up. So yeah, that's
Brandon. What if all this is a psyop? Microsoft is only putting their games on PlayStation day one to get rid of the FTC once and for all.
Honestly, I like it. But a fair trade my ass. Yeah, I guess this is good. We kind of assumed that this was just going to go through, right? I mean, at this point, it's happened. It's been happened. And Dave makes great points. They're not really hoarding the wealth in a monopolistic way. So yeah, I don't know. I still don't love the whole idea of the thing, but to me, this was already a done deal. In the eye of the public, this was already a done deal. It was just a matter of time for the paperwork to kind of trickle down, as far as I'm concerned. Not literally, but Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's much more to say about this one.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Warner Brothers Games Division revenue has dropped 48%. This is from 80.lv, a website that may as well not exist because I've never heard of it. After losing $384 million for its parent company in 2024, the games division continues to be a major burden for Warner Brothers, with the studio's latest financial report revealing the department's whopping 48% revenue drop in Q1 2025. According to the official report, games revenue fell nearly 50% during the 3-month period from January to March 2025, significantly contributing to a 16% year-on-year drop in Warner Brothers' total studios division revenue, from $2.821 billion to $2.314 billion. The studio blamed the decline on a lack of new releases, as well as higher carryover from Hogwarts Legacy and Mortal Kombat 1 in 2024. To offset the dropping profits, Warner Brothers seems to be reducing funding for its game-related efforts, with game content expenses decreasing by 66%. The report attributed this decrease to the prior year quarter, the prior year quarter impairment related to Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which, when translated from corpo speak to plain English, means the experience of Rocksteady's failed 2024 game, which reportedly cost its developers $200 million only to get abandoned less than a year after its release, has likely led executives to stop pouring vast sums of cash into similar projects. Yeah, this seems very much like they're just not hitting the mark, and the less money they spend, the less money they will make long term. But I also feel like there's got to be some some part of this that's like there was so much money coming in, literally just tied to Hogwarts Legacy, that of course you're going to have a drop in revenue. I think it's a twofold issue. Dave, I don't know if you saw it as a Switch man, a AAA Switch man, who also loves Hogwarts Legacy. Right now, you can get Hogwarts Legacy on Switch for like less than $20, and then upgrade it for $10 when the Switch 2 comes out. Are you going to do it?
So I only have to spend $700 Canadian to save $10 on the upgrade. I won't go that low, Ben.
No.
And I've said this to you before, that like Hogwarts Legacy on Switch, no. I'll play like 10-year-old Darksiders games on Switch for the convenience. And even if they have some quirks, fine, and we'll laugh about it on the show. And, oh, Dave's an idiot. But Hogwarts Legacy on Switch 2, it's not going to happen. So I can talk about the story now if you like, Ben. Yeah. There's one thing, context is really important. And as this article points out, I think the earnings look worse than they are, because as you mentioned, Ben, at this time last year, WB, despite kind of dealing with the failure that was Suicide Squad, they still were riding the coattails of, I think it's in Mortal Kombat as well as Hogwarts Legacy. Yep. And things have cooled off on Hogwarts, and there hasn't been any significant releases from WB since then. The other thing that where context kind of comes in is, I think earlier this year we mentioned that WB had announced, there was a report, it was refocusing because of the failures. It kind of saw that, you know, they can't be as reckless as as they were as aggressive in games as a service, and they were going to refocus on what worked for them. So hopefully more single player experiences, and I believe they specifically noted Portkey, like Hogwarts stuff, Batman, I think Lord of the Rings was in there, and Mortal Kombat. So I think anytime you have sort of a refocusing like this, you're going to see the pace of releases really slow down. So I think all of this is short-term pain for long-term gain. I think the investors know this, so I'm not really sounding the alarm bells here. You know, there was also some stories about a significant drop in the lack of investment in gaming. But again, if you're refocusing, then obviously you're going to stop churning out stuff in a reckless manner and just put out good stuff, you know, 1 or 2 good games a year. So I think we'll start to see that return to form next year. We already know that Hogwarts Legacy sequel is being developed. That's going to be really good. Hopefully we get something Batman single player. So I'm not really too worried about WB, and I think this stuff needed to happen for them to kind of refocus on what is best for us as gamers and them as a business. So yeah.
Right, and much like Dave, I'm not too worried about them. What I am a little worried about is when we get to Hogwarts Legacy 7, are we going to be like, I wish they'd put out a new IP? Because they're obviously, at this point, going to take surefire bets that they know are going to hit.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's hard for them at this point after they've pumped out so many stinkers. I think restructuring ultimately is a good thing. I mean, we've seen this happen with a couple different companies now. Ubisoft, at the beginning of this year, late last year, did something similar where they kind of held back a little bit financially to kind of restructure and regroup after having some tough losses. I'm hoping this means at some point we'll get a new IP, but I think they need to start getting money makers under their belt. So ideally, what I would love to see is by Hogwarts 4, we start to get new IP, but you never know. So yeah, I don't know. I think that at the end of the day, the problem is less with what they were funding and maybe how they did it and the timelines they set forward and the studios they put on the projects that they did. So even though the money is not really going from the hand as freely anymore, I hope there's some sense of recognition that it wasn't truly, we shouldn't have pumped so much money into this. There were many other factors at play. And unfortunately, the bean counters don't really understand that. So I'm hoping some sort of upper management in WB. I have like a disdain for WB. So there are people behind these studios though, and that's what kind of sucks. And that's what's behind these numbers is people and their livelihood and their families. But I'm hoping somebody has some sense that isn't just counting the money of how to improve this aside from just scaling back. So I don't want to see WB games go away in general, and I know we're like a far way off from that. I don't think this, spells demise whatsoever. But they do have a lot of good IP and a lot of talent under their wing. They just have to get the right people on the right projects and have realistic expectations with what needs to be delivered when. So
Yeah, I think, to point out the big flop, Suicide Squad, I think that game could have done really well had it not been full. Like it was totally geared towards live service, right?
right.
They put out that game, they make it even a co-op game, but a single player game, and they focus on the experience rather than the monetization. And I think that game goes a lot further. Maybe they, had what they did hit, had it been good, great, maybe they would have ended up making more money in the long run, but it wasn't because that's not where the focus was for the experience. So I'm definitely with you on that. I hope that they continue to put out stuff. I think we're at a point now where in the next year or two, you could see them stop greenlighting new projects and start just farming out their IP, which I hope doesn't happen. Not because that would be, that may be the best thing for them financially, but once that starts happening, it's a slippery slope because anybody who has a couple $100,000 gets to license Batman. I mean, I'm just making examples here. Gets to license Batman and make whatever garbage game they want, and that's not what we want. We want great games made by people who own the IP and care about it and want it to progress. Not that people who would license it wouldn't care about it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I want WB games to exist. 616 says, first of all, he's shouting out your Bears hoodie. Dave, you're welcome.
Who is 616?
616 Entertainment. His name's Ian. He runs a YouTube channel.
Hell yeah. Hi, Ian. Fellow Chicago Bears fan. Let's go.
He also says it would have been great to have a Superman game of some sort come along with the new movie this July. It's been 19 years without a Superman game. That's true. The last Superman game that came out was really bad, and the first couple Superman games were really bad. Here's the thing. I don't think you can make a Superman game that's good because Superman just, in his normal form, kills everyone. Are you guys Superman fans?
No.
I
love
liked
Superman.
Henry Cavill's rendition. But
Yes,
I agree.
Everyone did.
Like,
Every straight and gay man liked Henry Cavill's.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, it just doesn't work. He's too good. You can make that argument though for like a lot of other superheroes. You know what? That's a cop out. I think somebody could make Superman work.
Yeah, I think it could work. I just think it's tough.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brandon. No, you're done. He also says Kratos versus Balder was Superman versus Zod with a different skin. I mean, that's fair. But like Superman,
Kratos can't fly.
There's no there's no danger of Superman losing. I know he died in the early 90s in the comics, okay? I know. I remember. But I do think that's one of the tougher superheroes to translate, for sure.
What about that Three Doors Down song?
Oh my God. I have so many stories about that song. Radek says they had too many boomer characters in multiverses like Beetlejuice and Iron Giant. Radek is 14 years old, so you can't take anything he says.
And he's on income support, so.
And he's...
How does he see above his desk? Does he have to get like a booster?
Yeah, he has a booster chair, I think. Let's move on. According to IGN.com, Nintendo insists AI-generated images were not used in development of Mario Kart World after in-game billboards sparked speculation. Rumors began to swirl that when a Nintendo Treehouse livestream gave us a closer peek at the upcoming racer a few weeks back, eagle-eyed fans pointed out that a handful of in-game advertising boards looked a little strange, with images of a construction site, a bridge, and a weird tall car, all raising eyebrows. Of course, many pre-release titles include placeholder graphics that won't be included in the final product, but Nintendo refuted claims that anything, even in its pre-release game, was AI-generated, saying in a statement to Eurogamer, AI-generated images were not used in development of Mario Kart World. Generative AI is one of the hottest topics in creative industries right now, and a burning issue within video game development itself. Apart from ethical and copyright issues, labor unions have expressed concern about the potential for AI to replace jobs, and video game performers have called for increased protection against its use. There's a lot more here to talk about and more comments from Nintendo, but I just wanted to get you guys' feedback pretty quickly here on... It's going to definitely spiral into a bigger conversation about AI in video games, but first, let's talk about Nintendo. Brandon.
Classic lazy dev. Classic lazy dev. That's all I gotta say. I've had a lot of disdain for Nintendo, and this goes right along with it, baby. This is absolutely AI generated. I don't care what anybody says. I'll put my tin hat on for this. No one draws a car like that. Not even Nintendo. People say they're using AI in Nintendo. Mario Kart, he's the best. Fuck the blue shell. Yeah, I don't know, man. It would be a little bit weird for them to do this, especially Nintendo specifically. I do agree they do look a little sussy, but I think this is just a sensationalized thing, like truly. So although we do need to be cognizant of this sort of thing moving forward, because we will get like Ubisofts of the world. That's the first one I want to throw under the bus because they seem the most likely of everyone to do this sort of thing. And I think they have. But yeah, I don't know. We need to be aware of this sort of thing, but it would strike me as very odd that this company specifically, of all the fucking dragons sitting on a pile of gold, to go to their laptop and type in something to one of the biggest games, their biggest IP, literally the highest attach rate of any fucking IP in the world to a console. It would be very strange for them to take that sort of haphazard approach with this sort of thing, even if it wasn't pre-release. So I actually, even though I do hate Nintendo, and I was joking a little bit about the tin hat stuff, I don't think if they said it's not, I don't think it is. So,
Dave, AI certainly has its place in video games. For decades now, we've been using engines that let you say you want trees in this area, and it populates them. But and certainly you could use AI for translations or lots of stuff that aren't creative necessarily. But the whole generative AI thing, pretty wild. And it seems AI stuff is easy to spot, but in a couple of years we're going to be at a point where it's not. Like and everyone just assumes that it is because it looks too good to be true. That's the part I'm worried about, when people just start getting attacked for using AI when they really haven't, because we've had so many poor faith actors. But take it away wherever you want to take it. I don't know. I'm just talking.
Yeah, I mean, we're at a point now, as you point out, where it's like most people savvy enough can spot it, but it's going to get better, and it's going to get to a point where we don't know when something has been created with AI. And I think that's an important delineation point, is like you mentioned kind of the grunt work of AI's traditional use in video game development, but it's going to be taken to another level. My question is once we get to that point where it's not easy to spot, are developers going to be honest about it? Are they going to be forthright that, are you going to see it in the credits where it says like artist support by are they going to say, I kind of think they're going to try to hide it as much as possible, because there seems to be a significant amount of outcry anytime it is spotted these days that it's going to hurt sales. The problem is we've been hearing for quite a while now how expensive video game development has become, and we started to see prices go up in both hardware and software. and we've seen the reaction to that. So developers are kind of going to be in a point where it's like, we have to use this stuff, and if it's good enough not to recognize, we're not going to sacrifice potential sales to, look honest, because by the time we get to that point, a lot of people are going to be doing it. So I do think it's going to be the sort of thing that's going to be hidden, and I think about a year ago, I was a little bit more apathetic when it came to AI in video games. Like, I prefer not to have it there, but from a creative standpoint, it's like, you know what, it's gonna happen. But the more that I've seen of it on like social media and stuff like that, the more I'm like, I don't like this. It's weird. It's lazy. It's not cool. And I just, in something like a video game, and like look at the way we've been talking about Clair Obscur for like 2-3 weeks. It's like that is like from somebody's brain. That's just pure oozing creativity and style. And it's like when you start to normalize AI creating that stuff, it's like we're going to lose those kinds of experiences, and there's not going to be any room left for them. So I don't know. I am feeling myself getting a little bit more vigilant when it comes to this, and in terms of my opinions, but I also don't really see a future without it. So I don't know. I'm just curious to see how forthright, developers are actually going to be about its use.
I think different platforms are going to start being and enforcing more stuff too. Like right now, Steam has a thing where you have to use. Of course, people are still lying. There's thousands of games that come out every month on Steam, especially. People are lying about whether they're using it or not. But at least the fact that they ask for a disclosure and make you second guess it is a good start, I think. But yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens. And I'm all about using AI as a tool for like like I mentioned, very specific certain types of things. But the creative aspect, it's no, it's a no from me, dog. It's rough, and I'm not. Obviously, I do care about the jobs in the industry, but and that's one reason to not like it. But that's like the lesser reason for me. The bigger reason is just that it's oftentimes not as good. Like it's not done as well, and I hesitate to any time to ever say like lazy devs, because there are certainly plenty of solo or small devs that are like, hey, I would really help me here, and I understand that. But it does kind of reek of that when you get the bigger studios, especially if this had been Nintendo using AI in Mario Kart, then it would be a little bit more. I'd lean a little bit more heavily on that side. But yeah, I'm pretty anti AI in creative aspects, but in everything else where it can help you, I'm pretty for it. That's all I've got to say about that. Anything else, boys? Let's move on to number 4. Diablo 4's Berserk crossover DLC cost an insane $150. Berserk has landed in Diablo 4, and oh boy, is it going to make headlines, according to Push Square. Blizzard's been teasing this crossover for weeks, with previous press releases confirming that the coolest stuff would be locked within the game's premium cosmetic shop. However, it's an eye-watering price tags that are causing a stir. In total, there are 6 different cosmetic packs up for grabs. 4 of them are iconic Berserk-themed outfits. One's a new mount, and the last unlocks a pet. There's no bundle that gathers all these products together at a discounted price, or period, let alone discounted. The class-specific outfits are going for 2,800 platinum, which is the currency in Diablo 4, which equates to $25. So if you want Guts Berserker armor for your Barbarian, Struggler armor and Griffith's armor for your Rogue, or Skull Knight's armor for your Necromancer, you're looking at just under $100. Throw the Warhorse mount into the deal, along with the Schnoz pet, and you're forking over close to 150 because there's no currency microtransaction between a meager 1,000 platinum and 2,800 platinum. Cheapest way to buy all this stuff is the full $149.99 USD for the game's largest amount of platinum, 18,500, which leaves you with 2,000 left over once all the Berserk packs are purchased. It's a lot of stuff here, and I think, in full disclosure, transparency, whatever, anybody who knows us knows that none of the 3 of us are really microtransaction lovers. Like, we've all made a microtransaction or 2 here and there. Don't get me wrong, but like, we're all kind of anti stealing my money. But even if I were pro microtransaction or okay with it, this is an egregious amount of money. I look at this. I look at Overwatch skins, which I still play Overwatch 2 pretty frequently with friends. Yeah, individual skins costing 20, $30. I look at even Fortnite, which has gone from 0 to 60 with the amount of skins they're putting out and the amount they're costing. It's just a ton of money. Now, with that said, people are buying it. It's their prerogative. But what do you think it does for the industry as a whole? Take it wherever you want, Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I'm sure is a very expensive IP to obtain. It's one of the more popular animes to ever exist and mangas to ever exist. Um, but that doesn't really justify the insane price tag. Uh, I think Diablo numbers are probably slowing down a bit. Um, and to do something like this in a game, which I'm assuming someone in the Discord or the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, doing this in a game that, albeit is, in my eyes, kind of on the downswing, makes no sense whatsoever. Could it bring people in to spend money? Absolutely. But I think you want to ride that line of being relatively affordable to get the highest number of people in. Uh, this is very confusing to me. I haven't played this game or thought about playing this game since a couple months after launch. And to know that something like this is happening in the game actually deters me more than it encourages me to come back, even if I wasn't going to buy the pack itself. If this is the kind of slop that's going to be presented at that price tag. Now, mind you, the cosmetics look cool, but my biggest complaint with this generally, and I think everyone's biggest complaint, is going to be the price. Overwatch had things that were way too expensive, and then at some point they worked with the consumer to kind of lower things, even with collaborations. And I even think those are expensive. So to have something like this come out that is well over $100 to get the whole bundle is completely moronic, and just the epitome of greed. Because could there be a lot of work that was put into this? Maybe, but I think there is a nominal amount of work compared to the rest of the project put forward. I mean, even at full price when the game came out, it was $70. So you're telling me these skins, and we
It
can
was
argue
60.
about,
It was 60 when it came out.
and we can argue about the price of games being too low anyway. But
Yeah.
do you see the value statement I'm putting forward here? Like, even if you wanted to make it 60, fine, okay, for everything. You're doubling the price of the game. Okay, whatever. You love it. But yeah, this is a swing and a miss for me, boys. Like, big time. I can't see this going over well. I cannot. I know there will be diehard Berserk fans that go out there and buy this, but I think the majority of people will be incredibly turned off by this amount of cost associated.
Dave, I know you're not a big multiplayer guy in general for games, but how do you feel about this? It always stuns me when, like, for instance, Overwatch puts out a new pack or something. And I'm like, oh, cool. The cheapest thing you can buy in here is $25. And that's the cheapest thing. Like, there's plenty that's more. And I'm like, nobody's going to buy that. And then you hop in and you're the only person without that cosmetic.
Yeah.
It's always a weird feeling when you feel like that. How do you feel about the insane amount of, like, we're not just talking about whales here. We're talking about average consumers, by and large, still spending so much money on this stuff if they're invested in the game, and it doesn't help if they're invested in the IP.
Yeah, I won't say much about this, but you know when you go to like a decent restaurant and you look at the wine list and there's one like $800 bottle of wine and you're like, that's insane. Like, it can't be that much better than just an average bottle of wine. And it probably isn't. But the thing is people will buy that, like a couple of people. And the restaurant doesn't need many people to buy that $800 bottle of wine to make a significant amount of money. So there's a couple of things here. We're talking about it.
Yeah.
You know, as Brandon mentioned, like, Berserk is a pretty big IP. So that's going to have a lot of people who are interested in it. And like, Radic makes a really good point in the chat. Like, if you drop like the Deep Rock Galactic engineer in like Destiny or something, like I would buy that skin just because everybody has that one IP, as Radix says. So I don't know. It's the simple thing is just don't buy it, but there's enough people who will do it that it just makes it profitable. So at the end of the day, these people are trying to make money and they'll do whatever they can. And you're right, the effort required to put these Berserk skin in the game does not equate to $150. Like that's an unfair price tag.
It's the IP, yeah.
But they know someone's gonna pay it, so fuck it. If nobody buys it, they're not out. So yeah, I don't know. But Diablo's no stranger to this kind of stuff. Like, remember when Immortal came out and people were doing the math that, like, if you wanted to fully level up your character, you can spend 10 years playing or spend $100,000. So it's nothing new, but yeah, it is funny regardless.
Yeah. I've had a little, not with my current job, just to be clear, but I've had a little bit of insight into how some of these licensing deals work. And it would not shock me if Blizzard actually wasn't making as much money as we think that they're making. Because some of these IP are lots and lots and lots and lots of money. And I think any of the ones I'm aware of, I'm NDA'd, even though it's been years since I've talked about them. But I dealt with some licensing in games and even had some signed contracts before some things fell through. And just the amount, like the deals, some of them, even for smaller games, are staggering. Because they all go through, not only do they have to make the money off the IP, they've also got to pay attorneys to write stuff up. And like it all amounts to an insane amount of money. So if you told me like, yeah, we're making $2 on these every time you buy one, even though it's $25 for a skin, I'd be like, yeah, it probably is, but that doesn't mean it's healthy. And I think that I don't really know who to blame there, but the biggest blame is on the consumer, in my opinion.
What's the cost? And I'm not refuting what you're saying. I agree with that, and I understand it to some extent. But what's the cost of like getting hype around the game, right? Like, I like anime. I think Berserk is cool. I'm not a huge fan. Let's say this did bring me back into Diablo, right? Like what's the price of getting people more engaged with your game to just making straight up cash? Now, I'd say most developers, most fucking shareholders only want that, but it's like a reciprocating effect. When you get people playing the game, they're more apt to buy things in your game. So, like, I don't know, man. I feel like this is definitely not the sweet spot as far as cost to getting people in, but whatever.
Well, just a little bit more of a dive in that. There's really two ways that I know of. There could be more, but there's two ways I know that these IP deals generally work out. One is that you pay an IP holder X amount of money, and with that X amount of money, you can do anything defined within the contract. The second way, and this is the more likely way I think it happens in most of these video games, or else you'd see many more types of skins, is that they charge a per transaction fee. So like if you buy one Berserk skin and it's this specific skin, for every time you sell that skin, we're going to charge you Y amount of money. And so you set it wherever you want, but just knowing that you're paying that amount of money every time somebody pulls a trigger. I think most deals are typically done in like a lump sum agreement, in my understanding of things. All in all, what I'm saying is it's whoever's making the final decision on a lot of this stuff is charging too much. And this could be very well a case of where Blizzard is eating a lot of the cost just to get people back in because they know it'll get people back in. And maybe they're making a little bit of money, but they're not making a lot of money. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know the specific deal at all. I'm just saying, like, maybe our ire should be more with Berserk IP holders than with Blizzard, It just sucks all around, is the point I'm getting at. The whole thing is out of control. With that said, I'm pretty sure it's probably Blizzard making the lion's share of the money with this IP, but I'm sure that if you jumped into the game, there would be more people than you would think with those skins. Just by looking at the price tags and everything. It's crazy. Somebody took a deep breath. Were you going to hop in? Move on. All right, our last news story is about support for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game. This comes from GameSpot, and it says Gun Interactive has announced that Texas Chainsaw Massacre will not receive any future content or support after the release of a new patch later this month. The studio added that there will be more patches released in the future to help transition the Texas Chainsaw Massacre towards peer-to-peer matchmaking, and the game will not be delisted from storefronts. This echoes the studio's pledge to keep the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from suffering the same fate as Friday the 13th, the game, which was delisted and shut down in 2023 due to its license expiring. Gun Interactive says that it feels the Texas Chainsaw Massacre has reached its full potential and that it has been able to realize its future for the asymmetrical multiplayer game, allowing it to see the vision for this project toward its natural creative end. There's a lot more here that I won't necessarily go into, but this is kind of in line with what we just talked about a little bit with IPs and holding it. So I want to get your thoughts on this, Dave, on it sucks that the support is ending, but at least the game still exists and can be played, or will be able to be played. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is okay, with one caveat. So they're keeping servers running so you can still play the game. They've released a bunch of other content that is still going to be available to new people that come on board. So I don't think there's any issue with them keeping this live game listed, even though they're no longer supporting it. The question that I have, and I'm not really sure what the right answer is when you have a situation like this, how clear and forthright do you need to be on your storefronts about the fact that your live game is no longer going to be supported? I pulled up the game on Steam just out of curiosity, and sure enough, there is like a news update post that says the future of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it goes into detail about what you just mentioned. But I was thinking, like, do the storefronts have a responsibility to clearly articulate this to their consumers? And I think about when you go to buy an early access game on Steam, there's a big bar that says you are purchasing a game that is not yet complete. And it goes on to what that means. And it's kind of a consumer protection thing. So, like, in a case like this that we're going to be seeing more of in the future, when a developer is no longer supporting the security of a game, does a storefront have an obligation to say, just so you know, this game is what it is. It's not going to get any future improvements or additions. And it's kind of a double-edged sword, because, like, if you're Steam and you do that, then you're potentially going to be losing sales, because you're saying this is a dead product. It's still live, but it's not going to change in any way, which is something you expect from a live game. Whereas, I guess on the flip side, if you are forthright with that messaging, then you don't have any loss of trust from a gamer who thinks that you may have hidden that from them. You save costs of refunds, because processing refunds isn't cheap. It's not free. So I don't know. I kind of think about, like, what do you guys think is the approach that should be taken in a case like this? Because, as I say, it's going to happen more and more. But I don't know. Is just a news post enough, or do you think there needs to be more than just that?
I think it's nice to have more than that. I don't know if it should be mandated, or even who would do the mandating. But you do have instances like, Steam announced a little while back that if a game hasn't been updated in, especially early access games, I think it was, if an early access game hasn't been updated in X amount of time, whatever time that is, that there would be a banner on the page to basically tell people, like, at least think about it before you buy it. And that's Steam doing it on their own accord. And once again, not to play PC Master Race, good guy Steam, but bravo to them. I haven't even come across a game like that I haven't stumbled upon one and seen that on there. But if I did, I would certainly pay a little bit more attention than I would normally. So I don't know that there's a responsibility from a legal point of view, but I think from an ethical point of view, yeah, you want to let people know. And I think probably the Texas Chainsaw Massacre devs publisher at the very least should put, like, a blurb about it on the store pages. They could do that on their own and say, like, hey, just so you know, this game is still playable and we're still fixing bugs or what, stuff that may pop up, but it's no longer being supported. And for me, if the price is right, that's okay. Like, it's probably a game I'm only playing with people I know anyway. So I think there's a lot to gain and very little to lose in the long run. But whether or not companies will have the desire and forward thinkingness to do that, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I personally see Steam potentially implementing something like this, as Ben kind of alluded to. They've been very consumer and user friendly as far as this goes. As we see this thing pop up more, I think we will continue to see Steam strive to give the buyer the most accurate representation of the game, even if the developers have not. I don't see Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo doing this sort of thing because, truthfully, they don't really care, and they just flood their game stores with whatever junk anybody can put on there. So, whether or not I think it's a moral obligation for the developers to do it, I think that it would be a nice thing for them to do, kind of like how Ben said, but I think the alternate of this is just not having the ability to play, even peer-to-peer or person-to-person altogether. So I guess if this is the trade-off, then at least they're making the trade-off that they're going to have the option to be able to play the game online, even if it's not hosted through the original source. So honestly, I'm fine with this, to be honest with you. And most people won't even care or know what that means to begin with. That's the other thing, is that like maybe the Steam people want a notification, but most people on PlayStation are not going to know or care. They're like, okay, does the multiplayer work? Yes or no? Like, that's really what the majority of people that are going to be buying. And to be honest with you, I pulled up the Steam charts and, albeit this is an older game, but they haven't really broken 2,000 players since June of 2024 and rarely broke 2,000 players aside from the first 4 or 5 months it released. So not to say that, the people that are affected by this or that may be affected by this in the future shouldn't know, but I don't think this is the game that we need to be worried about. I think it's stuff moving forward. So
anything else? Let's dive in quickly to what we've been playing. And I say quickly because I have nothing. I literally, since the last time I was on this show, have been home for like less than 24 hours. So I got nothing. But Dave, I'm curious what you have, if anything.
Yeah, I have a few things I want to talk about. So I did play a little bit more Clair Obscur. I did finally finish Act 1. And things happened, and I'm feeling a certain way about those things, but that's the impactfulness of this game. I also want to proudly announce that I lowered the difficulty of this.
Nice.
This is something that people normally hide, and I think that's toxic masculinity. And I want the world to know that I am playing on story difficulty. So there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, I'm not good at turn-based games. If I lose a fight, I have to respec my pictos and change my inventory and all that. Because the problem is like you have these fights where it's like, I think I'm a little under-leveled, but if I just kind of stick it out, I might be able to get through. But the fight takes 20 minutes, so then I go and try it again, and it takes another 20 minutes, and I still die. So I'm just like, I love the story and the characters so much, and I don't want to rage quit because I'm not good at the game. So I just lowered the difficulty. So fuck you if that's a problem. But yeah, so Clair Obscur, looking forward to playing more. And I played a few games at PAX that I want to shout out because
real quick, I just want to go back to Clair Obscur. I'm a big fan of changing the difficulty if you feel like it. As a matter of fact, I one time wrote an article that got a lot of traction and love and hate for Handsome Phantom called "It's Okay to Play Games on Easy." So I'm very much a fan of that. That said, Clair Obscur is not hard, so get good, Dave.
It was the not
It's the time commitment.
Lamp Master, and I don't know if that's a difficulty spike, but in any case, I'm like I just want to move on. So maybe I'll bump it up again, but I have no reservations about lowering the difficulty. So
I'm like almost through Act 2, and that's definitely been
yeah,
the hardest battle for me. So
yeah.
that's a fair point.
So yeah, a couple games I want to shout out from PAX, because as Ben mentioned, PAX is the place for indies that you maybe never would have heard of otherwise. It's a chance to get some exposure. So 3 games I want to shout out. There was this game called Control Alt Deal that was very, very interesting. This is like, it's difficult to explain, but it's like a card-based AI social engineering board game where you control, it's like a isometric 4X board game, and you control this AI in an office, and you have to manipulate things in the environment to get people in the office to do different things, and you play cards to learn more about the people and the things in the office so that you can manipulate the environment in certain ways. So like in one instance, there was like this Roomba that you have to get to leave a room, and you play cards and you learn that the Roomba hates stairs and loves loud noises. So if you get it into the appropriate room that has like an air horn, that can like impact its action. So it was this really cool like social experiment mind control game that it has some relevance into things that are going on in the world today. So that was a really cool game. Control Alt Deal. There was another game I played called Revenant's Reach, which was like a Castlevania Symphony of the Night style game from a graphical standpoint. It played like that a lot too, but the main hook of this game is you have this like hook shot, so you can jump and hook on to like things in the environment. But when you hook onto something, you can also propel yourself in the opposite direction. So like you would like start here, you'd hook onto something, and if you needed to get over here, you would have to wait until you swung to the other side and then like hit the propel button, and then you would come shooting out. And it was this really cool mechanic that was like really used in a lot of interesting ways throughout this like 30-minute demo that I played. And the game looked really cool, and the combat felt really cool. There was a lot of really cool depth to the combat, like parrying and dodging and stuff. So I really enjoyed Revenant's Reach. And the last game was a game called Demon Tides. And
I had dinner with those guys on Saturday.
Nice. Yeah, they were really cool guys. I had a chance to talk to them, but they made this very bright and vibrant 3D platformer, and I went up to one of the developers and I'm like, how did you make a game that makes Super Mario Sunshine look like Scorn? Like, this game is just your eyes bleed when you see it. And the platforming was so deep. Like there's so many different like different moves that you have to learn, and you don't have to master them, but like you can't just get by in a double jump. Like you've got to really learn the different platforming mechanics, and a big massive open playground, like tons of stuff to do. I had a lot of fun playing it, and I think that's going to be a big game when it comes out. I'm not sure when it does launch, but yeah. So Control Out Deal, Revenant's Reach, and Demon Tides were among some of the cool stuff that I played last week at PAX.
Demon Tides, by the way, is a sequel to Demon Turf.
So they said it's kind of
maybe not
sort of a sequel, but
yeah.
A little bit. But yeah, if you're familiar with that game with the developer, then maybe you know what to expect. But if you haven't, then check it out, because it was a really cool game.
Yeah, I checked out their demo a little bit. It's quite a bit. The art style is quite a bit different from Demon Turf, but the idea is very similar. It seems like it's gonna be cool. I'm a little biased now since we're buddies, but it's very cool, and they're great guys too. Great folks who work on the game. Brandon.
So I haven't played many video games, but I did play a game called Drive Beyond Horizons. This is a multiplayer game. It's also a single player game. You essentially get dropped in a desert world with car parts everywhere, and you have to build a car and drive down a long stretch of road and continue to upgrade your car. You can tow other cars behind you for scrap. There is a bathroom mechanic, there's a food mechanic, there's a water mechanic. You have to drain the oil, and it's not quite as in depth as like My Summer Car or something like that, but it has those same vibes. Not only in mechanics but also in jank. This has to be one of the most janky early access games I've ever played, but I have been having quite a bit of fun playing it. It is $25, which is a little steep for how buggy it is. I don't know that I would recommend it to most people. I did have a lot of fun playing it with my brother and his girlfriend, and I probably will continue to play it. But this last playthrough, some of the bugs were really, really shining through, some of the physics and stuff. But a little brief snippet of a story. We got our first car and we had built it up, and then we had got a second car. We had made a diesel truck, which was significantly faster. We put turbos on it, stuff like that. And I was in the starting car by myself. It's like a little Datsun, and I saw something in the desert, and I go to drive up to it. And I had forgot that there was landmines in the game. And so I just literally completely funky jank physics exploded into the air. And everything on that car was subsequently destroyed. But yeah, I could see this being cool as stuff continues to be developed. It's by a French developer. It's very, very clear if you play the game. There's a lot of stuff that's not finished with this game, a lot. So it's really a tough sell to almost anybody for me. But if you were looking for that weird, janky, ridiculous fun, kind of like the My Summer Car feels, where it's just like weird in a good way, but also be prepared for it to be weird in like a buggy bad way as well, maybe it's for you. And it is only 25 bones, so it is what it is. But yeah, that's it. It's been a weird week, so
I get it.
Yep.
And I think everyone gets it. As a matter of fact, I think that's the end of the show. Anything else before we go, boys? Well, if you want to check it out, don't forget you can support us on patreon.com/handsomephantom. Help us keep the lights on. We appreciate that. For those of you who are there, those of you who may be there in the future. And also you can join us on Discord for totally free. handsomephantom.com/Discord. Apparently we have a free Claire Obscure tip line going on, thanks to Benji. So you can take advantage of that if you would like as well. I think that's it. Hopefully next week we'll have more games to talk about, or at least I will have more games to talk about. You guys did your jobs. I was literally doing my job, but a whole different, whatever. Goodbye. We appreciate everybody for hanging out, and we'll see you next time.